What's up, bitches?
You're
How's everybody doing, man?
chilling.
I was telling you middle of the week about how I'm playing basketball on Friday. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be fun.
Yup.
Friday rolls around, like right when I get off air. I'm supposed to like go to my friend's house and then we're going to go play some basketball at this gym. I was going to get, be brought as a guest. And like the last thing I wanted to do ever play basketball because I was so fucking tired.
Oh, on Friday.
Yeah, on Friday.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I like the level of laziness that I have. Like, and here's the thing: if I get into like, let's say I get into a groove where I do the same thing every week at the same time, well, then that's good. Then then I'm good. I won't even question it. I'll just go and do the thing, even if I'm like feeling sick or I'm tired or whatever, because it's already part of the routine. But like before it becomes part of the routine, I'm an idiot and I'm so lazy and I'm like I can't. I don't want to do it. I'm just a fucking bum.
Yeah. It's just anything out of the order. Well, I remember it's crazy because like back in the day, and this is what I said to you, like when you told me you were going to start playing ball, I was like, oh, like back in the day, how every day over the summer, I would just be like, yo, ball. And then we would go to Roosevelt, right? Was it called Roosevelt?
That's right, yeah.
And we would just park our car on that street in front of like the stop sign. We'd get out, play ball for OD long, finish playing, go get some grub, or we run to the CVS and get like a huge Gatorade
Yup.
and drounce that shit. And then that was like our basketball for the day. But like we didn't even think we were playing basketball. It was more just like, are we doing what we're doing every single day?
Yeah.
Whereas if like one day I just switched it up and drove to another park, you would be like, wait, what do you do? What are you doing?
Yeah,
like,
no, and that's look, man, that's like that. I feel like that's underrated at the time. Like at the time, we just did it because, like you were saying, That's just what we do. It's the summertime. It's nice days outside, and we just whatever. Let's go play some ball. But like now, when you're in Chicago, I'm here in New York. It's cold as fuck outside. Like it's like right then and there is where you go. I wish I had that thing every week where we go and we do that and we don't question it. Yeah,
But
I wish it was like that, not just with a ball, but also with, like I was telling you, I like a weekly poker game.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
I'd be so down for that. We used to do at our friend's house. I'm just gonna withhold names for the fuck of it. Not that these people are like,
Yeah,
what are they gonna be harassed if I bring it up? No, of course not. But like at our friend's house, we would go and we'd play poker. I mean, was it like every Friday or was it like every other Friday?
Well, that's what it sort of came to, but like, so the thing is about this kid, our high school had like a parking lot that circulated
a big
around,
circle around a football field.
around a football field, and on top of that circle was like houses directly where you would park your car. So
That's
like
right.
those houses, it was close enough to our school where they would use that circle to park their cars for their house.
That's right.
So this kid lived right there. And ironically, he was the one who ran the poker in his house.
Yep.
Who had a table and all this stuff. It was like a mini casino, like right outside of our fucking high school.
That's right. In fact, I think it was there that it was the first time I ever played Texas Hold'em.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. And like, because he started it, I don't know. I mean, it must have been like ninth grade, right?
Maybe. Or was it ninth grade? I don't know. But, I mean, long story short, he's a fucking cheater, and I caught him cheating, and they tried to turn the table on me.
It was fun, though, man.
No, it was fucking awesome. It was it was unreal to think about like what we were doing. Like people used to roll dice in the back of class, I'm sure, and stuff like that. But we had a mini casino right outside of our high school.
Did we ever skip high school to go play cards?
I don't know if we. Well, I went straight from card places to high school, but
No, I know we did that, but that was the
we used to
fucking
leave
underground
school.
fake
Yeah,
mafia shit.
Yeah, exactly. But we used to leave school early to go play at his house. He'd be like, "Yeah, card tournament at like 1:30."
Yeah,
He'd be like,
and
"Wait,
they
but I got a
used to-
class." He'd be like, "Nah, but I don't, and we're just gonna run a tournament."
They used to track it too. Like if there was a while where they like ranked it, for however long, for 10 tournaments or whatever, and they would be like number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, and it became like this thing, almost like this fucking like league or some shit. Remember when, I don't know if you were with us, but like when his dad took us to do a card tournament, I don't know where it was, but somewhere.
Yeah. There was like that legit thing at the guy's really nice house,
And it was well, there were a
and
few
there's
then,
like
I guess,
bounties
because
and
one of
stuff.
them was at like this
It was in, like,
place where
Purchase or something.
now it's a restaurant, but before it wasn't. Before it was
Oh
just
yeah,
this open, empty thing, and they had a tournament of like 100 people or something in there, run by like an official league or something.
yeah, that was sketchy as fuck too. Like every place has just had a whole bunch of sketch balls that you would just be like, what cave do you live under? Like what rock do you live under? And
No,
like,
but you know what's funny? Like that right there is just an argument enough to legalize it because like
Yeah.
if you like let's say it was legalized, you would just have basically the equivalent of like small business casinos all around where you are and it wouldn't be super creepy. It would be like normal ass people. I'm sure some of the people who ended up playing would be creepy, but like it would
Yeah.
be an official establishment like thing instead of some creepers who threw it together at the last second and who you think might have somebody tied up in the basement.
yeah, yeah. No, you're right. It's not. They don't make it some like underground sketchy thing.
Yeah, same thing too with. I mean, I don't want to go off on a side rant, but everybody knows as I've spoken about this before too. Like, there's a reason why in places where prostitution is illegal, it's the worst, like the worst, fucking
Mhm.
most disgusting, STD-ridden, drug-ridden areas because it's illegal. But when you in Vegas, just outside of Vegas, it's actually legal, and when you go there, there's no STD transmissions. There's no, open
Probably
drug
just
problem. It's just
yeah.
it's just a business, you know?
Yeah. And even if there is, I mean, like in the case of Omar Odom, there was a drug overdose, but they weren't afraid to call the police to their place because they're really not doing anything wrong. I mean, ultimately, he was doing cocaine, which he'll get in trouble for, but the establishment won't. You know
Dude,
what I'm saying?
that's such a good point, and I never thought of that. That like when
Something
some,
does go
like
wrong.
some medical emergency happens, yeah, you can call the cops and you're not afraid. Whereas like if it's
Mhm.
illegal and you're gonna get arrested if you call, are you crazy? That you can't do that. I think they have in some states something called Good Samaritan laws, which might be exactly what you're talking about, where even if something illegal is going on, you can call the cops and you don't go to
Oh,
jail
really?
because of that.
Yeah, just think about like I mean, if we were playing cards, I mean, there's a lot of shady shit did happen, but if we're at like an underground card spot in New York, and like you see some weird shit, like I mean, God forbid there's a bomb threat or something,
Right.
like you're like, fuck, man, like I would like to just step out, go to the bathroom, and call the police right now, but I'm doing some illegal shit, so do I get in trouble or
Yeah, the fact that you have to think about that.
yeah.
Yeah,
Where
it's like
I'm not gonna call 911 because I'm doing something illegal right now, and then this whole
exactly,
place
and a
will
lot
get
of
raided,
people
and
are
maybe I
gonna
get killed.
yeah, a lot of people are going to come to that conclusion, and it's like, well, why should anything that like you're not hurting any even things that you could possibly like fuck yourself up, like if somebody's doing hard drugs or some shit,
Yeah.
like still, why should that be illegal because the person is hurting themselves? Like there's a million ways you could hurt yourself that I guess aren't necessarily illegal, and we all just go, well, I guess that's a matter of just freedom, like whatever the person wants to do that. You could eat McDonald's every day for 10 years and you're going to die young and you're going to fuck yourself up, but that's legal. Whereas if somebody wants to do some kind of drug that's a bad drug,
Yeah.
and it's just like fuck off to the government, and all
Yep.
conservatives should be with us on this too, because one of the definitions of conservatism is believing in small government and believing in like liberty. Well, that's like if you're in favor of the government getting involved in, if you're gambling or prostitution or drugs, well then you're in favor of big government. You want the government to micromanage your life.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But-
it's fucking
but-
crazy, man.
But let's be realistic. If I don't even know, I mean, I'm sure that Good Samaritan rule is in place and probably, whatever.
Yeah, in some states. I don't think in all states.
But like, do you think that shit really applies? Like, the cop is gonna be like, "You're arrested. You're arrested. Oh, you're the one who called me. You can go." Like,
I
that
don't even
motherfucker who
think
called
people.
is
That's
still
the thing is,
getting
I don't
in
even
trouble.
think people know what states they have it in.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Like I don't know, and I follow the news closer than anybody.
that's what I'm saying. Like, is it a written rule? Is it an unwritten rule? Because then there's also I've never known. Is there such thing as like a citizen's arrest?
Oh, that's such a good question. I mean, I
Is
think
that
it's a
true? Like,
thing.
if can I arrest someone? Fuck, if I saw him doing some illegal shit.
I think it's a thing, but I don't like if somebody doesn't abide by it, you can't fucking blame them.
Yeah, I'm gonna be like, hey, hold right there. Stop. You're doing something illegal. Citizen's arrest.
Technically, you
Like,
have
what's
to
the-
have.
Citizen's arrest.
Technically, if a police officer pulls you over in an unmarked car, you're allowed to ask for an actual police officer to come. Did you know that?
Yeah, well, I didn't know that, but like, see, shit like that is there's so many little things that, well, I mean, go all out the window now because we see all these viral videos, but people trying to abide by, I guess, what is a law. Like, I'm not required to give you this or that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and also, I mean, there could just be some fucking creepers who pretend to be cops, and then
Oh
they
yeah,
fuck
that
with people in
definitely.
the worst possible ways.
Yeah.
So, but then,
For an unmarked car, I feel like you probably should ask a little bit of questions to the cop, you know, but
yeah,
like,
but like you're saying, like if you were to request that, like I could obviously imagine a cop saying like "fuck you, no," and like
exactly.
like they don't even realize what they're doing is wrong, or they do, but they don't care.
Yeah.
It's just the same thing with every time I've ever watched Cops. They'll like the officer will pull somebody over, and then they'll say like, "You mind if I take a look around your vehicle?" And the person is like, "Yes," pretty much every time.
Yeah.
But like if they say no, they have a constitutional right to say no. The cop doesn't have probable cause to go through the car yet, so
Yeah.
they're allowed to say no. But in the few cases where people do say no,
It
on
automatically
cops, I've
is
seen
like,
somehow they find a way to look through it anyway, and that's not you can't do that, but they do it.
exactly. If you say no, then automatically it's like, all right, get out of the car.
Yeah, then it's like, okay, now I have probable cause because you said no. Well, no, that doesn't. That's
Yeah.
unconstitutional.
Now I may proceed to beat the shit out of you.
Yeah, yeah, you're right with like the thing with the cameras now. This stuff was happening forever, but now we just have it on camera more.
But I mean, so yes, yes, like so we saw a video I sent you I don't know if you'd already seen it, but there was a White Plains cop, which is like close to where we grew up, you know, like right in our backyard. Pulled the guy out of the car, I guess, and just started wailing at him in the face. So I mean, like ultimately, like you know, but everybody feels they have a camera phone, and it's like they can just resist whatever the cop tells you. No, don't get me wrong. The guy punching him in the face was absolutely wrong, but everybody feels entitled to just fight against the police now. You see what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, but I don't like that. I mean, the thing is, what percentage of those people who are like talking back and refusing are refusing specifically because like the reason why the cop is trying to arrest them is just utter bullshit.
yeah,
You know what I mean? That's the question.
case by case.
And I don't know what percentage it is, but it's certainly disturbing that and it seems to happen more in the U.S. than anywhere else. You have so many examples of just people recording cops beating the fuck out of like people in San Francisco the other day. There were people who were pulling like a Rodney King basically. The cops were just beating the living shit out of some guy who was on the ground already.
Yeah, I think I saw that.
Yeah, it's like what is that? Do you have no moral code? Do you not realize that you're a bad person if you act like that? It irks me.
Yeah. That's where I'd be like, stop, citizen's arrest. The cop's gonna be like, you're right.
And then obviously the person would be like, oh, citizen's arrest, he got me. I gotta stop.
I've always wanted a citizen arrest a fucking cop I always see texting and driving. A cop always talking on his fucking phone while driving.
Yeah, I mean, you want to talk about, not applying the same standards. Obvious, everybody knows that cops will put on their fucking sirens and go through red lights.
Oh,
and do shit like that. And I don't know, they feel like it's this little fucking mafia. I was talking about it the other day. It's almost like in so many places you have police officers are kind of like, now this word is too strong, but I'm going to use it anyway. They're kind of like a paramilitary that's paid by the rich side of town to keep the poor side of town in check and stop them from being free and like coming over on their side of the town.
Yeah, wow.
And it's a fucked up way of looking at it, but it's kind of true that like usually the poorer side of town, usually minority communities, they live under this like pseudo occupation of the police officers where if you smoke like a joint on your front porch, you're going to get arrested. Meanwhile, on the rich side of town, you can do peg stands in your front lawn, you can fuck somebody in a bush right next to the road, you can, our friend lived right next to a judge and we had insane parties and we never had the cops come.
Yeah.
It's weird, right?
Yeah.
It's just not, it's not this idea that, the law is, justice is blind and the law applies equally to everybody. Nonsense. It was actually Karl Marx, I think, who came up with the thing called conflict theory, which is exactly what I laid out there, that like the police are a tool of the rich to continue to oppress the poor. There's definitely an aspect of that is true. There's a grain of truth in that. Yeah. All right, dude. I was thinking about this the other day, and I was tweeting about this.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to the season, so I'm a summer and spring guy through and through.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and in New York, I'm sure everybody knows, but in New York, you have like hot-ish summers. I know the people in Texas are laughing when I say that we have hot summers. We have
blazing.
whatever. I don't know what the average temperature is, but it's anywhere. It can be anywhere from like 85 degrees to like 103, or you know what I mean? Like that's the range.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a summer guy. I'm a spring guy. But at the beginning of fall, this year and most years, I have this overwhelming sense of fuck this. Like I'm pissed that it's the beginning of fall.
Yeah.
And I'm pissed because you're losing those awesome summer nights and those bright summer days, and you're transitioning, and it feels like it happens pretty quickly too, where you transition from beautiful warm weather to, dreary, gray, disgusting weather.
Yes.
But here's where I throw in the fucking curveball. So the beginning of fall, I'm like, fuck this. But then like now-ish, like end of fall, I'm like, yeah, it's not so bad. Does that make any sense?
I think you're maybe starting just to like it's starting to sink in. Whereas in the beginning of the season, you're like,
Man, I don't want to see summer go. And then probably a couple weeks go by and you're like, okay, I've adapted to it. I've gotten used to it. And you start to like understand it a little bit more, and you're like, okay, if I could just get through this, I'm going to get back to that happy place again.
Right, so it's like after I accept the fate that fall is fall and it's fucking here and it ain't going anywhere, then it's like, okay, well, it's actually not that bad because, whatever, the leaves change color, you get to wear a sweater, but it's not freakishly cold, all that stuff. But then once winter comes, then winter is my least favorite by a mile and a half.
yeah, oh, I hate winter. I mean, everybody's like, oh, I like the snow and this. Like, no. Like, so I got 2 dogs now. I can't fucking walk the dogs because they are all wet.
Right.
There's mad.
Ice and slush and shit. And I was just cleaning off my car yesterday, and it was the worst fucking thing ever. Like, my hands were frozen.
Yeah, dude, you know what it is? It's the idea of winter that people like. And don't get me wrong, are there some people that just like the winter? Yes, I'm sure, absolutely. But
the fucking Eskimo.
for a lot of people, and by the way, I don't know, I didn't know this until like fucking last week. Eskimo is like a slur.
Oh, really? That's like
Yeah, I didn't know it either. I think everybody gets an Eskimo pass for the first like 8 times you say it after you learn the new rules, but Inuit is, I think, what they want to be called.
Oh my
And Eskimo is the same as like the N-word for them.
No, really?
Well, this is the shit I'm told. I'm not even. I'm a fucking progressive talk show host. I don't even know all the rules. The rules are changed on me every 8 minutes.
Yeah, that's true.
Are there actual Eskimos out there though? I mean, like, so an Eskimo is a real.
Yeah, it's. I mean, what? Like they're not like.
I mean, like who's
Vikings,
an Eskimo?
where Vikings are just not around anymore.
Unless you're a Minnesota Viking.
Well, like,
exactly. But
what do Eskimos do? Eskimos live in like, I mean, not Eskimos, Inuits or whatever. Like they live in igloos.
No,
I mean, are people in Alaska Eskimos?
To be honest, and I sound incredibly ignorant right now. I don't know the extent to which they live that way, but I know that they're around. Like they're still there. I don't know how much longer with climate change and their fucking environment changing, but
that's what I'm saying.
They exist though. But hold on, I'm trying to get back to my winter thought. But like, if you talk to people from hot places, they'll be like, "No, winter is the best thing ever." But then, like, if they actually get into that situation where they're in a winter, they'll be like, "Fuck this."
Yeah.
Because the idea, like, I hear you, because if you like, let's say you watch a movie, and whatever, it's spring or it's fall or it's summer, and you see winter on screen. You're like, oh, that looks pretty. Like, you see the snow on the ground, and
really
like
nice.
People are inside drinking hot cocoa, watching TV. It looks cozy in there. But like when you're actually in that, you're like, fuck this. And what you have to go through is what you were just describing. Like, I got to clean off my fucking car. I got to shovel the driveway. I got to fucking feel the chilling, biting cold air when you walk outside and it hits you in the face.
Yeah.
And all that shit sucks.
Yeah, well, that's why
Some people prefer like a Chicago, New York, shit like that, because you experience every season,
I was just going to ask you that. Do you think that's preferable, or do you think it's preferable to have like LA weather?
I mean, if you ask my fiance, she probably would say, her ideal weather is like a San Diego where it's just like a 67 to 74 degree range, not just all year round.
Most of the year.
Yeah, most of the year. Whereas me, I like changing of the seasons, because it's like you get a little of everything.
I gotta admit, I think I'm kind of with her on this.
Really?
Yeah, I've heard criticisms, like some people say, like when you're in a place that's like 73 degrees and beautiful year round, like you feel like time goes faster because you don't have the regimented different seasons where it's like this is this and then this is this and it's like a cycle you go through, and that might be true, but I don't know, man. I love that. I love the idea of just like the weather just feels like it's not an issue. Like you don't have to.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I'm sort of swaying because maybe that is the perfect weather because it's just like a neutral playing field. It's just like here's something you don't have to worry about. Now go do whatever you have to do. You know what I'm saying?
And
whereas like there's different factors that come into play when it's really cold. People get grumpier.
yeah, but you do miss that like the good transition. Like I'm bitching about the bad transition from summer to fall and then fall to winter. Like these are just the shitty time. But like when you get that, like that feeling that you get in like late April, where like it starts to become every day is like, oh my God, it's like a beautiful 75 degrees, 73 degrees, and it's sunny when it wasn't sunny for like a month. Like
and
that's a good feeling. Like the transition to the good weather, like you can't appreciate that. Like I remember this year, I guess it was in March, I went to, what was it, South Carolina or North Carolina, whatever it was, one of the Carolinas, for a bachelor party. And like I remember the feeling I got inside as I was driving south and I hit the places where the grass was green, because it wasn't green yet. It was still like disgusting. The snow had just melted north and it was like, the dead brownish color, right? But like as I'm driving south and then all of a sudden you start to get to the places where it's like, ooh, it's like the grass is green here, and then when you get out on the golf course when you're in the Carolinas and you look around and the weather's beautiful and it's just like, oh my God, this feeling is so nice. You don't, if you're in like LA, you never have that experience where you're going from super shitty for so long to nice.
Yeah. No, and yeah, that brings me to my point is like in those places where the seasons change, you sort of appreciate people more too because you can tell who's a genuine person or not because like you're like, all right, maybe if this guy's nice in the wintertime, he's nice in the summertime, he's a nice person. Whereas somewhere in like San Diego or some shit where it's always nice out and you don't have to see people's true colors, you can't tell if someone's fake or not.
Yeah, I wonder how much I wonder like what percentage of people get seasonal depression, or if not seasonal depression, just like something lesser, but like seasonal moodiness. You know what I mean? Because
I'm sure it has to be fucking high because I mean, I look at a guy like my father in the wintertime. He's like, oh, I gotta shovel off my car, and no, I don't want to do it.
Yeah,
But then in the summertime, he's happy.
Yeah, I feel like I'm the same way. I'm definitely not depressed in the winter, but my mood is certainly lower. Like I don't mind in the middle of the summer if you have like a rainy day or something like that, or whatever. You just have like a time period where it's gray for a while, whatever, that's fine. But like when you're in the middle of the winter and it's nothing but gray skies endlessly, like how can that not affect your mood? I feel like there's got to be something, just for whatever chemical, biological reason where your brain is like, fuck you, I'm not going to release any dopamine or happiness chemicals when it's shitty outside.
Yeah, I mean, like it has to affect your body in some way,
So if you had to rank the seasons, how would you rank them?
I would probably go
summer,
spring, fall, summer, winter.
Okay. See, I think I'm spring, summer, fall, winter. So like the nicest middle groundish one, spring, where it's just beautiful. Summer, because I like hot more than cold. Then fall, then winter is obviously my least favorite by a mile.
Yeah.
And so, like I wish.
Yeah.
if Canada wasn't so cold, I'd probably I maybe would have already been there, like went there.
What? Just because of the weather, or
I mean,
because of?
because of so many things. I mean,
Oh yeah.
for example, they haven't invaded a trillion countries post
Yeah.
World War II. The world doesn't hate them tremendously.
Did you hear Bill Maher on his show this week talking to that lady? Talking about their political ads against one
Oh
another.
yeah, how they're so polite.
They're so. He was just like, I'm just better, a little better than this next guy.
Yeah, no, I could imagine that, especially her. She's very Chrystia Freeland is very soft spoken and stuff.
Yeah, but I mean, just back to the weather shit. I think people. That's why they tend to sort of say, LA people are fake and New York people are just real and tell you how it is because we experience everything. You see people's true colors every season, whereas when it's hot all year round, you get a lot of fakeness.
Yeah, and I mean also just because Hollywood is in LA.
Yeah, I mean, but like maybe California in general,
Yeah, California. California has a fucking interesting story. Not to get off on a side rant, but they have. I forget. I was watching some show on TV. It might have been How the States Got Their Shape, and like there's the northern part of California. Like at the further north you go in California, the more Republican it gets. Kind of the same with New York, but in California,
really?
I guess there's a bigger, real distinct difference because California is fucking gigantic, man. And the northern part of California, they wanted to basically secede from California and be their own state, and they were going to call it Jefferson. And there's this whole story about it that was really interesting. But apparently it didn't work, and they're still part of California and stuff. But it's weird how that works. How like in different states, like some states, there's not much variation. Like I guess a state like Kansas, for example.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that's all. Like they're pretty much all kind of right leaning, live a similar way. But in a place like California and New York, like when the further south you are, the more like liberal and busy it is and stuff, and the more cities there are. But then as you go north, it gets rural and people live, more of an old school kind of way. It's weird how that works, isn't it?
It's super. Well, I was just gonna ask you, what do you say to just if different states just seceded and became their own little fucking thing, and people just lived
So,
like if Texas just broke off and was just.
So it's funny you ask that because there's so many people who, like, on the left, who when people on the right like entertain this idea, they're just like, don't be stupid, like, oh, we're never gonna change. But like, okay, so I'm generally against the idea of just fucking lobbing off parts of the country and say, okay, whatever, do you. But under certain conditions, would I be for it if you did it right? Yeah, of course. I mean, every single empire comes to an end. I mean, if you look at Europe, for example, the borders massively changed after World War I, which was not that long ago. If you look at a map of that region going back, 150 years, it's totally different. So I'm not like totally against it, but it depends how you do it. Like, you could basically, like, you could take America and break it up into, like, 6 separate or 7 separate, maybe, states or countries. And in all seriousness, you would obviously have a situation, if you did that, where, like, the more liberal countries, we would resemble Europe much more than we do now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, if you have the Northeast becomes its own country, or certain parts of the North or Northeast, the South becomes its own, Midwest becomes its own, Texas becomes its own, and then California breaks up into 2. Like, right there, you have at least 2 liberal states, you have some conservative states, and it's almost like a little experiment where you see, okay, let's see who's more successful. And I can guarantee you the liberal ones would be more successful.
Oh, my God. Yeah, way more. Way more. I mean, it would get ugly in some of those states that weren't liberal because they'd probably be doing weird shit, but the people who shouldn't be there shouldn't be there.
Yeah, but it is true. Like, I'm sure we'd all feel horrible, though. Like, because, what would Texas do? What would a lot of the places in the Midwest do? They would immediately say, okay, no more gay marriage.
Yeah, I know, but that's to my point. So, like, if they, I mean, this is terrible, but if they went back to some like slavery type mindset.
Oh God.
But then ultimately, like ethnicity groups should not be in Texas.
No, no, we can't say that because like, what are you gonna do? Like, if you're a black family living in Georgia, and then like if it breaks up and they try to bring back slavery, which by the way I don't even think they would do that. Like that's I mean that's just way too far even for them.
Yeah.
But like, what are you gonna do if your family's been in the same place for 200 years and then all of a sudden it's back to
Yes, so but if it was better for the greater whole, I would sort of just be like, you got to move north to New York or some shit.
And actually, that's kind of what happened when the Civil War did happen. Like, or when there was slavery in the South but not in the North, you had slaves always escaping to the North to get away from the South. So, but the thing is, if that were to happen in this crazy dystopian world we're living in now, it would be like you would obviously have the powers that be, like the white racist apartheid power structure in the South. They would like do everything they could to try to force the slaves to stay there. Now, I'm kind of talking myself out of this idea even as I'm talking here.
Really?
Because
I just feel like there's so many different people. Like what could affect, like with our gun laws or anything else. There's a person in Oklahoma that's so different from a guy in New York that like they'll never agree on the same thing,
No, that's totally true, and that you're getting at a fundamental problem with the kind of system that we have and the kind of government that we have and the different kinds of people and how big the U.S. is and stuff. And it's a hard thing to deal with. But I mean, I guess obviously when you look at the Civil War, everybody agrees that, and rightly so, that like Abraham Lincoln was the hero, and what did he do? He prevented the secession of the South when they were trying to become the Confederate States of America, and they had Jefferson Davis, and they were basing it on slavery, and he basically was like, no, fuck that. Like, I'm going to fight you, and you're going to stay part of the U.S., and you motherfuckers are going to behave, and you motherfuckers are going to not have slavery and not... And look, it's still the case that even though he did that, obviously those places still... in many ways are kind of lagging behind socially than compared to other places or the more liberal places. But in the grander scheme of things, was it the case that you had Abraham Lincoln like kind of drag those places into modernity more? Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But like I feel like I still don't totally disagree with this idea though in general, because since there's already been a graduation past like that, since there's I don't think, even if you were to break up the U.S. into 6 countries, like I don't think that those places would go back to slavery or be as crazy as that. So since they've already met like a basic level of humanity, is it as crazy an idea? Like, let's say, for example...
I mean, you would hope not. You see this lady in Kentucky or whatever, and then Mike Huckabee being with her and shit like that, and, like, you automatically think, like, all right, if they were allowed to do whatever the fuck they want, they'd be in, like, KKK robes in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that I think there's some truth to that. Like, you would have an increase in extremism in these places.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's a hard question, man. But like, if you were to have the amendment to get money out of politics fail, like let's say all of these movements faceplant, Wolfpack faceplants, you have Move to Amend faceplants, so we never get the amendment to get money out of politics and to make it so that our government starts representing us more than the billionaires and the corporations and the corrupt interests. So if that were to happen, and if, there's some sort of giant social unrest that occurs, and it just looks like the way we're doing it ain't gonna fucking work. Like, we're, the empire collapses because of our foreign policy, and we have hyperinflation, and there's like a trillion, like, let's say the perfect storm happens, and we just, like, the country's just fucking collapsing. If the proposal comes along then, is it something I could see myself hypothetically support? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
But again, it would depend how you do it. Like, if you were to do it where every state becomes their own country, I probably wouldn't support it, because that's just an inefficient system, I think. But if you were to break up the U.S. into like 6 or 7 different countries, and we all get to do whatever the fuck we want and try to work it out as we see best. I think the area that I'm in, maybe you would be in a different country if this was the case, but it would be like, and we make the U.S. more like an EU type system. I think we would have universal health care here. We would have universal education here. We would have, universal daycare. We'd have just a system that you actually get some shit for your tax dollars as opposed to your tax dollars endlessly going to war and corporate welfare.
Yeah, shit, yeah.
Yeah. So, I want to get your thoughts on this because I think I'm the only person that's in this camp, but I want to run it by you. I almost feel obligated to dislike Adele because everybody fucking loves her.
It's so weird because my take on Adele is she's sort of, I respect her.
No, I respect. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to be too much of a dick here. Like,
yeah.
Is she immensely talented? Yes. Anybody who denies that is just a fucking asshole. Like, she's obviously super talented, and I'm sure she's a good person. I know nothing about her, but I'm sure she's a totally lovely, normal person. But I guess on some level, I'm just an asshole because I have that contrarian streak in me where whenever everybody agrees to something, I want to be like, why do you agree to that? Let me fucking think about this, and fuck you for just all agreeing to it. And
yeah, no, you're right.
It's unanimous on the internet. Like, you go anywhere, like with Huffington Post, fucking BuzzFeed, other more highbrow news sites, like they'll all have some shit about Adele where it's like, Adele knocks it out of the park with this performance, obvi, as per usual. And I'm just like, fuck you. Why do you have to word it like that? Why do you have to say it like that? Why does it have to be like... the fawning, the extra level of like fawning of like, oh my god, she like speaks to me and how she sings and her lyrics are just amazing. It's like, calm the fuck down. Why do you love her so much?
No, you're right. I mean, she's entering that like Beyonce level where it's like if someone says something bad about her, you're like, wait, what did you just say about Adele? Like, or like, so no one can ever say anything bad about Beyonce. Yeah. Whereas, like, I'm like, all right, her music's okay. Sometimes that shit's a little annoying, and you're right. Adele's getting to that same level. So, I'm not at that level yet with Adele, where like it's sort of like, man, fuck this next song, regardless if it's good or not, because I'm just annoyed by her. But she's entering that level because you're right. Nobody says anything bad about anything she does.
And you know what it is? Like, I think another part of it that annoys me is you get like. Let's keep it real. It's overwhelmingly women who love her, and like the tastes are so different for women and men. Where like with Beyonce too, same thing. It's overwhelmingly women who are like, she's done nothing wrong ever.
Yeah.
And with Adele, same thing. Oh my god, she's just absolutely fucking perfect. But if you talk to men, a lot of men, if not most men, will be like, eh.
I think men are just prone to always finding flaws in something,
I mean, but, or maybe it's that we're just all assholes and have that contrarian thing in us. Like where I'm just like, I don't want to just agree to agree that like, oh my god, she's so special and she's just amazing. Like, I look at that and it's the fact that everybody is fucking drooling over her that makes me turned off by her, because there's no way she's as good as you think she is. And that's with me admitting she's immensely talented. Her voice is incredible. I'm sure she's a great person. But like the extra layer, I'm gonna go way too far right now. But it almost looks like a religion.
Yeah, I guess. I mean,
you know what I mean? Like, you can't. God forbid you say something negative about Adele. You
get scolded by everyone as well.
Yeah, and it's not like there is no dissent tolerated on, like, there was this thing where they were showing like Adele went to some Adele impersonator thing, like contest, I guess, or whatever the fuck it was, and she masked the fact that she was Adele, and like then she sang and everybody's like, oh my god, this really is Adele, and I was just like, vomit. Like, this fucking story blew up on every website I go to. And you know what it is? It's like the websites I go to for the show and stuff, I'm purposefully picking places that have some good political content where it's whatever. It's linking me to great articles from the New York Times or Reuters or whatever, and it gets in detail about all the things I need to talk about. And it's like when they throw in the celebrity stuff with it, I get it. It's cool. Like every once in a while I'll do something like that. Very rarely, but I throw in some entertaining stuff that I find interesting. But it feels so invasive when I'm going to these sites to kind of get away from the pop culture entertainment nonsense that I don't want to be around. And it's just fucking shoved in my face like, look, it's Adele. Don't you fucking love her?
Yeah, and I guess that comes back to ultimately why you wouldn't like something. I mean, they do that with sports too. I mean, people use sports as a way to get away from commercial shit, but now, companies are wanting to put their promotions on jerseys and shit, and people are like, no, like keep that away from what I like, just like a sports jersey with just a state on it,
Yeah, corporatization gets weird, man. Like there's it happens, obviously it happens in golf and stuff, but like the major championships have been largely left untouched. Like you have the U.S. Open, the British Open, which is just called the Open, the PGA Championship, and the Masters. Yeah. And like those are pure. But then when they added the playoffs, you know what they call the thing that you win?
Yeah, I do.
The FedEx Cup.
Yep.
Like I don't want to win because it's called the FedEx Cup.
Well, and maybe that's why you don't like Adele, and certain people don't like Adele because she became too corporate in a sense, rightfully so. I mean, maybe it's not her fault.
Oh, dude, you just hit the nail on the head so much.
But like that's why people like little low-key emo bands, and they like discovering the new rapper because it's like they haven't hit that corporate world yet, where they're like just suck the blood out of everything Adele,
No,
where it's
but then another great point by you. But then here's where I'm just not a good person. Like I don't like. So I don't. You're right. I think you're right that it is tied to like this corporatization thing, which is why I probably dislike her for that. But then also when you get to like the counterculture people who have made a culture out of the counterculture, like hipsters, for example, I fucking hate them too, and I might even hate them more than I hate Adele.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. No, because I mean,
you know what it is? It's like, and I was tweeting about this the other night. They want to prove that they're rebels by striving to fit in.
Yeah, I guess so.
Like, okay, so you're a rebel, but your whole thing was, I bought pre-ripped jeans, bro, and, like, I grew my hair out, and, like, I have these gauges in my ears and stuff. And what are you doing? You're doing that not to actually be a rebel, but you're doing that to fit in with the crowd that has defined themselves as rebels, and they're all part of this culture as they pretend to be counterculture. But if you're really counterculture, you can't be part of a culture, even if it's a subculture. Like the true rebel, I forget who said this, but it's so true.
That's good.
The true rebel is the person who wears like the fucking pocket protector and who is actually doing some shit that nobody else is doing, or wearing some shit that nobody else is wearing, and who actually
or
doesn't
just
give
wearing
a fuck
something
what you think
genuinely because they like it, like whether it matches or not. I mean, like
right. So if you're gonna be a counterculture, okay, so you're against the mainstream culture and corporatization and all that stuff. Great, but then you can't default to like the next thing, which also is a culture, which is like whatever it happens to be, whatever subgroup it happens to be. If it's hipsters, or if it's, like the new campus, college campus, social justice warrior crowd where they're offended by everything and they make a big deal out of everything. Like, if you want to be a true rebel, the true rebel says fuck you to all of the above. And they, they want nothing to do with any of that because all of it is something that's like, fuck off.
Well, I was just thinking about this the other day, and so my dad, like when we were younger, he used to go to the Disney store and he would just buy these shirts that had a pocket on them. It was like a blue shirt, it had a pocket, and then above the pocket would be like Goofy or Mickey or someone on that pocket. And back then I would be like, why are you wearing these shirts? And like looking back on it now, it's just like he just genuinely liked those T-shirts because like he would put his pens and shit in the pocket, and he liked those Disney characters. Like,
and that's actually a rebel. Like that's actually a rebellious move.
Yeah,
because
like,
nobody
he just liked that fucking shirt and didn't care. You know, he wasn't part of a culture or a movement.
That's
But
right,
then
and nobody else was wearing it, or like it wasn't a cool thing to do. But he's like, oh, whatever, I like it, so I bought it and I wore it. And he probably got at the time zero love from anybody on that shit. But in reality, like that's the whole point. Like if you're actually a rebel, like nobody should be giving you props, and you know it should be like I don't know why I always think of like those those underground coffee shops that are in like I think. Like in Doug's sister used to go to these, the cartoon Doug.
Yeah,
where,
she
like,
was like
it's like a
super
poetry reading
artsy,
and it's a coffee club.
Yep.
And somebody says some shit that makes no sense, and then everybody snaps. They're like, "Oh yes!" Instead of clapping, they snap.
Yeah.
Like that's what I think of when I think of like they think they're rebels, but you're not. You're not being rebels because all of you are fucking abiding by the same weird subculture.
You're being more corporate than
so you
fucking...
go somewhere to fit in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you're just another
that's so
version
deep.
of the bigger thing that we're against, which is that corporatization, mainstream shove
They're their
fucking
own
Adele down
corporation.
your throat.
That rebellious thing is you're being your own corporation. So you're technically above corporations because you're a unique corporation.
Right, just you don't want to have anything to do with any of the fucking groups that you could go in. And that's obviously easier said than done because everybody like we're social animals and we want to fit in. But I think it's the ones that like when people try to fit in where there's something distinct about it that annoys me, whether it's the corporatization thing and like everybody agreeing the same people are awesome, or whether it's the social justice warrior crowd or the hipster crowd.
Yeah.
Like, they all got under my skin. But dude, real quick, I wanted to squeeze this in here. We'll wrap it up here soon, but so was I texting you about my new camcorder or no?
No, I don't know.
So I bought this new camcorder, and like I was talking to my buddy, he's like, "Hey, get this one because this one, all I needed was something that allows me to record in HD and it works with PC and it records in MP4 because MP4 is like YouTube stopped accepting my video format at one random time." And like that fucked me over time-wise in terms of how long it takes me to edit and upload. So I tried to get a new camcorder, and I just needed it to record in MP4. So they send it to me, and I'm playing with it. I'm figuring it out. It's pretty self-explanatory. Like you could pick it up. It's pretty intuitive. You could pick it up pretty quickly how to use it. But so I go through the steps. I click on okay, record in MP4, and then like I hit record. I'm going through the test. And then I upload it to the comp or whatever, and it didn't record in MP4. It recorded in the same fucking format that it did before. And so I'm like, okay, well, obviously I fucked this up.
So not what it offered.
What's that?
Not what it like was sold to be.
No, well, here's the thing. It obviously works properly in the sense, like, it's the right product, and there's a way to get it to record in MP4. But as I'm going through the steps, and as I could do it again, every time I press MP4 on the touchscreen to get it to record in MP4, it hits me with a screen that's just like, you have recorded nothing in MP4. And so I'm like, okay, but no, but the reason I click this is because I want it to record in MP4. I'm not asking what have I already recorded in MP4. I'm saying I want it to record in MP4. So I go through the steps. Dude, I spent maybe this week a grand total of 3.5 hours, 4 hours, going through it, trying to figure it out, going through the same process. It's not like the product is not that difficult. There's not that many options of shit to do. I know that what I'm doing is the proper thing, and it won't fucking record in MP4. And I'm looking into the memory. Maybe I have the wrong memory card. Maybe I just gotta do that and reformat it or whatever like I went through everything. Still doesn't record in MP4. And then after all of this,
shit. Oh, okay.
After all this, I'm sitting down and I'm thinking about it, and I came to the conclusion, like, of course, I knew something like this was gonna happen because something like this always fucking happens. You know what I'm saying? Like, it should be
something always
easy.
goes wrong.
It should be easy. It should be like the simple steps, and you go through it, and boom, okay, everything's great. But no, of course, absolutely, this was gonna happen because shit like this fucking happens. That's just shit that happens. Like when you need something to work easily, the most is when you get the biggest speed bumps.
I totally agree. And this is something, I mean, Well, that sucks. So I mean, does the shit record in MP4 or whatever, like, or not?
I'm
Like,
sure it does. I still can't get it to do it though.
that's weird.
And you guys, by the way, everybody who's listening who wants to, because I've had people try to help me before. You don't even need to. Don't worry. Don't think about it. Not that most of you would, but the few who are listening, like looking it up and shit. What's the model? Don't worry about it. I don't care. Like,
This is like
it seeped the energy from my fucking soul. Like,
you
my
try so
bones.
hard, and then you get to a point you're just like, honestly, fuck this shit. I don't ever want to look at it again.
Yeah, no, like, I'm at the point where even if it fucking works, I'm gonna be like, fuck you. Like,
They had those things growing up. It was like a little toy, like a model car or some shit. I want to say it was called like Tyco or something like that. And no, I don't know if that was what it was, but I always put it together up until a certain point, and then I couldn't get like one part figured out. And it obviously works because other people would put the car together and shit like that, but would never be able to do it. And then I'll just be like, fuck that. I never want to play with that toy ever again.
yeah, and is that just because we're lazier than most people?
No, because like a normal human being probably couldn't do that regular shit. I don't know. It just pissed me off.
Yeah, I find that, it's like this with my show where people assume that I know how to do all this technological shit because I do the show, but all I know how to do is the shit that I know how to do that I figured out, like, the bare minimum to get it done.
I guess it is just because we're lazy as fuck.
Yeah, and that actually, it's a great note to end on because that comes full circle to what I was talking about at the beginning about how when I wanted to play basketball and, like, I was looking forward to it all week, and then I'm like, well, I just don't want to do it right now, so I'm not going to do it, and I'm just the laziest motherfucker on the planet. Actually, I'm being a little unfair to myself because
No, you're not lazy.
I'm not lazy at all when it comes to,
What you do is super hardworking. The prep and the fucking show every single day.
Right,
and,
right.
Like, not a work you put into it. Someone would say you are not lazy by any standards. There's people sitting on their fucking couch doing nothing.
No, so that's true, but I'm sort of like a savant. Like, I can only put in that time and effort for that. But anything else, like, are you fucking kidding me? Don't talk to me about laundry. Don't talk to me about cleaning. Don't talk to me about being a responsible adult. Don't talk to me about dick. All I'm doing, like, whenever anybody asks me anything outside of the context of the show, I look at them like,
are you stupid?
Yeah,
you want
like,
move
what-
to do that? Are you crazy? Like,
yeah.
chilling. No,
Yeah.
not on that extent.
Yeah, no, and I wish I could kind of change it and make it so that, I was balanced and I can do multiple things, but I just can't. I just can't do it.
Dude, on a totally different topic. So I'd put up a status the other day I was I missed Molly's phone call. And I look at my phone later on in the day and I see a voicemail. And it was a 23-second voicemail, and my first thought was, fuck, I do not want to have to go into that shit, have to push play, listen to 23-second voicemail when ultimately I'm going to call you back anyway.
That's
So
exactly right.
I put up a status that said, I'd rather Molly call me 647 times than leave me a 5-second plus voicemail.
No, look,
and so
Corin.
Your sister wrote on my status, she goes, Kyle used to get so mad at my dad because I guess your dad left you voicemails or something like that.
Dude, I think you're so right on this. Right isn't even a strong enough word. They need to come up with a word that's stronger than, like, right and correct. Like, I'm 98% convinced that the Nazis created voicemail. Like, think about this, man. When you just described it, if somebody fucking calls you and you don't answer,
Yeah.
what's going to happen? You're going to see that and call the person back.
Of course.
So why would you want to put in this unnecessary process in the middle where you have to listen to them say, and I'll give you a classic example of my dad's old voicemails. You just be like, hey, buddy, what's up, man? How's it going? Whenever you get a chance, maybe you can just give me a call back. I'm doing a few things today, and I'm just thinking that if you call around 5 o'clock, it'd probably be good around there. So anyway, Just wanted to talk to you. Okay, fucking get it over with. So
This
it
is
got
what your
to the point
sister said.
where I stopped listening to any, like, I tried to disconnect my voicemail,
That's
and
what
I
she
did on
said.
some of my
She
phones.
said she says Kyle disconnected his voicemail because my dad would leave 97 messages a day.
Yeah,
Hashtag
and it
just
wasn't
send
even,
a
look, to be
text.
fair to him, it wasn't even just him, it was everybody. And I would just be like, you know what? That's it. So on some phones I just stopped listening to the voicemails, and on other
Yeah.
phones I disconnected it.
It's well, so Molly says for work it's okay, but I said even then it should be 5 to 10 seconds if you have to leave a voicemail. But even then, I don't even see the point of a voicemail. If I see you call me from a different department, I'm gonna call you back.
And why not, like, if you really want to make it the easiest way to communicate with one another, instead of a voicemail, if you send a text message, Corin, the second you see that text message, you will respond within 10 seconds.
Yeah, well, that's personal, but work life, you can't. I guess you can't send a text message. But she said, so she says, if I send a voicemail in work setting, I have to at least talk about the subject I'm talking about. I said, absolutely not. You don't have to. And her point was, well, what if that person sees a different person in your department, and they talk about whatever, and then they assume that that's what you were going to talk to them about, and they don't call you back. And I said, then that person's an idiot for at least not calling you to find out why you had to call.
No, I mean, look, you can come up with some weird extenuating circumstance where it might make sense to leave a voicemail, like, okay, I need to go into surgery right now, and something happened, and I'm calling you, you didn't answer. What am I going to do? Not leave a message? Because whenever you call back, I'll be in the middle of surgery. So, like, okay, yeah, you have an excuse there. But anything outside of some shit like that, which is fucking 99% of situations, voicemail is just, fuck it, I'm saying it. Voicemail is immoral.
I always buy iPhones. I would buy the next phone that came out that said our phone does not have a voicemail option if it was a fucking
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Yeah, I think you can shut it off for your phone. Like, if I'm not mistaken, mine is shut off right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've never
I don't know if I
listened
can
to a
commit
voicemail
that step to shut
on
off.
my iPhone, and I've had it forever.
Dude, some voicemails, I'm just like, are you fucking serious?
I'm not, like, I'm at the point, though, where I'm not even, like, I'm anti-phone call.
Oh, see, that's a little much, because I feel like a phone call is more personal. Like, I could text you all day back and forth, but like, even when we do this show, on Sundays, I'm like, all right, cool. Like, my friendship, I feel, is better with Kyle because I can actually hear his voice. You know what I'm saying?
Well, the show is, honestly, when we do a podcast, it's not even just like just a conversation where we would like talk on the phone or something. It's even another level, because we're talking about things, we're like more honed in on certain topics, and we explore them in depth. So it's like a layer or a level up above that. But in terms of, like, I can't tell you the last time I had like a real phone conversation. Or actually, maybe I had one within the past like 3 months or 2 months.
So let me ask you. So, I mean, obviously, so you, all right, so I'm trying to think. So we talk on the show, but like, do you feel if you were to call maybe like a kid like Henry and just talk on the phone, you would have a better relationship than what you have with him? I mean, I don't know how often you text him.
That's the
see what
thing,
I'm
is
saying?
that I think that phone conversations versus text messages. Like, text messages, here's the deal, man, with text messages. Like, if we get into a flow via text, I will literally be able to communicate with you all day. Like, and don't get me wrong, that's with me being super busy. So, like, bar anything weird, like I'm 2 hours late to preparation, in which case I probably can't do that. Or, I'm doing something like I was doing all this week, where I'm trying to fiddle with the fucking camcorder in all my free time.
That's a good point. Yeah, I guess you can get more across.
That's right.
You can
Like,
extend a text message throughout the whole day.
We can talk all day via text message. I'm sending you little snippets of what I'm thinking or what my day's like or whatever, and you can respond in the same way. Whereas a phone call, it might be more personal in that we're hearing each other's voices, but it's limited, and the format is restricted to only when we're on the phone, and it's also kind of takes away from everything else. So, like, if you have to do that for a 30 minutes or an hour-long phone call. Well, I don't know about you, man. I know you're busy, but especially I'm so fucking busy. Do I have 30 minutes to spare? I barely, sometimes during the week, I don't even have time to shower. Like, I'll go 2 days without showering because I'm so busy. So,
Yeah. Well, it's a good point. I mean, like, 'cause I just know in the professional world, people are always like, all right, well, just pick up the phone and call him instead of, it's like, but no, we live in a different age where you can get more across from texting someone. You know, maybe someone feels more comfortable giving you an answer through text or something, you know?
Yeah, and look, I think I'm probably in the minority in this. I think that most people, especially people who are older than us, are going to say, you're fucking
100%.
crazy. You absolutely do phone calls and stuff. But I'm like...
Yeah, it's a generational thing.
Exactly. I'm definitely a product of the internet age and our generation because there's just the thought. Like, I'm a dude who I talk for a living. Like, I talk for a living. And I'm the kind of person who, on personal phone calls, I'll get, like, social anxiety. And I'll be like, what, it's just me and you. We're just having a conversation. And I'm just like, oh, God, like, what are we going to talk about?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and it's like you want to think of everything to say, whereas you might not think of the right thing in that moment, you know? Whereas a text, it's like, oh, shit, okay, I could say this, you know?
Yes, exactly. And also, just for what you said before, it is more personal. It is more one-on-one. And that's like, that alone adds an extra layer of weird tension and anxiety to it, where even people like me who fucking talk for a living put in that scenario where like, am I really gonna, what am I gonna say? like, even with you and I, is there always an option or a possibility of some weird dead air in a conversation? Yeah, of course. And that's totally eliminated, and we can have the same kind of talk via text, but that's totally eliminated via text.
Yeah. I'm just going to start texting you now, like awkward airspace in between our...
And that's actually, I mean, you and I, not like I said, I don't talk on the phone with anybody, but you and I, all the talking that we do, especially since you moved to Chicago, is via this. Like, we text, but that's my point. Is I don't do phone conversations with anybody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. All right. I think I had one more thing here, but I don't even want to get into it because I feel like I'd be giving the people who are critics of me too much credit. You know what I mean? Like, there's this thing. I honestly I don't want to get into it because you know how I mean, I got to remember, like, at this point now, and I don't want to sound douchey, but this does sound fucking douchey as all hell. Like, there's over 200,000 subscribers now on Secular Talk.
Yeah, that's crazy, man.
And like, if somebody launches some sort of fucking weird attack and they're nobody, like, for me to respond gives that person too much credibility. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Oh, we had a funny one when that guy. There was a guy. I put a status up. I think it was like Bernie Sanders' face, because his face was priceless at the debate. And some guy was just like wrote some shit about Bernie Sanders and calling me a nerd. And the guy had like a horse photo as his icon.
Oh yeah.
And like it was like his name thing was like Smarty Jones 2004, which was like the Kentucky Derby horse.
Yeah, and what was his? I said something too about his last retweet, whatever.
Yeah, something about UFOs.
Oh yeah. This guy is fucking laughing at me and Corin for being dorks. He's got a Smarty Jones fucking thing on Twitter, and his last retweet was about UFOs.
Exactly, but you won't get into it with someone. You'll just fire off a shot, which is just like, it's just awesome, because it's like they want to go back into a back and forth with you. You're just like shot fired, but like rightfully so. If there's a debate needed, you'll respond back. But if it's just some childish shit, you know when to shut it down. Yeah,
no, in all seriousness, sometimes like part of me feels bad, and the other part of me is just filled to the brim with seething hatred when I get some of the comments I get. Like, you know what it is? What annoys me more than anything else is people who are convinced that they are brilliant, but the point they make is so mind-numbingly stupid. Like, I'm going to give one example right now, and everybody can see it on my Twitter feed if they want. It didn't happen that long ago. And this kind of it doesn't really even contradict what I was saying before, how I don't want to give people who are much smaller credit, because I'm specifically talking about somebody who's bigger than this person. Like, this person is just, I'll fucking talk about this all day because whatever, it's nothing. But it's just some random Twitter jackass. But some guy said to me, like, I did this tweet about how, like, in the whole new atheist versus progressive thing, I said, like, new atheists are obviously genocidal, fascist, white supremacists, and progressives are obviously Islamist apologists, terrorist sympathizers. And, you know, so people on both sides of that would tweet at me and like, oh, you're right about half that, bro. It's like, okay, jackass, yeah, I get it, because your side, whatever side you happen to be on, whether it's the progressive side or the new atheist side, because your side is right about everything. That's right. Nobody on the other side ever said anything smart, even though on one side of this is fucking Noam Chomsky, somebody who has more intelligence than you do in his fucking pinky finger, or, you know, whatever, Dawkins or Harris on the other side, who love him or hate him, you know they make good arguments from time to time. So somebody said, when I said something like that, they were like, false equivalence, and they said, why is there always two sides to every issue? You know, in geologist versus creationist, is there two sides to that? And they put that out there like they thought about that, and they thought, I'm going to nail Kyle right now. I'm making a brilliant point when I say this. Like, this point is great. And I responded by saying, if you think geologist versus creationist is the same as Chomsky versus Harris, you reason like a petulant child. Like, it should go without saying that, yes, obviously, false equivalence exists in the world. There are plenty of examples of there are no two sides. If somebody says evolution is true and the other says creationism is true, we know that evolution is true, creationism is not. You know, we can give examples all day long here. If somebody says global warming is real and the other person says it's not, okay, well, there's no 50-50 there. There's no equivalence. One side is right, one side is wrong. But that doesn't mean that literally there's no such thing as an equivalence anywhere in the world, and there's no such thing as a nuanced gray area conversation on different topics. And on this topic, it is full of gray area. It is full of gray area. I mean, on some things, yes, you could say the new atheists are 100% right, the progressives are 100% wrong. On some things, you could say the progressives are 100% right, the new atheists are 100% wrong. But the variety of the different aspects of this debate and conversation is full of gray areas where it's give and take. Okay, a good, decent point there. All right, somewhat decent point there. And the fact that this person, like, you must be such a fucking moron, where you're so entrenched in your own side on this that you can't see straight, where you really thought it was a good idea to compare Chomsky versus Harris to geologist versus creationist. You're just a pathetic loser, but the worst part is you think that you're brilliant.
Yeah.
Like, if you were to at least get rid of that last part where you think that you're brilliant, fine, whatever, cool. Like, it's fine to be wrong about something or make a point that's not great, but you're humble and you're open to conversation about it. But when you try to throw something in there that's like, ooh, I'm going to do a debate-ending fucking witty, snarky thing, and it's not debate-ending, it's not witty, it's not snarky, well, then you look like the clown that you are.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I get angry because that's so overused. And I talk about it where I think it's appropriate. Like CNN, they do false equivalence all the time. Hey, the Democrats said that, the Republicans said this. I'm not going to tell you what the truth is, but you make your mind up. False equivalence through and through. The mainstream media does that all the time on a variety of different topics. But that's when it's actually being done. If you want to say that it's a nuanced conversation. When you talk about new atheists versus progressives, well, it's obviously nuanced, and if you don't think it's nuanced, chances are you're a dunce. I just got worked up over a stupid tweet, but I mean, the thing that annoys me the most, if people can't tell, is that, like, when you think you're brilliant, but the point you're making is just mind-numbingly stupid.
Yeah.
Like, at least be self-aware enough to know that the point you're making is comical. All right. Yeah. I think I've now officially gotten all the anger off my chest. Anything else you want to throw out there before we wrap it up?
All good. I'll let you end on that note.
All right, brother. Good talk as always. Love you guys. Sir. I'll see you guys on Monday. Me and Cor will try to do a podcast next week. Peace.